Salutations YouTube, welcome back to another video. This one is going to be a long one, so we're not going to piss about here with any stupid stuff. I'm going to try to avoid making jokes because it's going to be a long one, I think. So get yourself 2 drinks, get yourself 2 snacks and make yourself really comfortable. I'm drinking a bottle of water. As I said, we're going to be doing a UK case. This one is about the 2010 Cumbria shooting. So without further ado, we're just going to get into a bit of a background about the perpetrator and then the shooting itself. So the perpetrator was called Derek Bird and he was born on the 27th of November 1957. His parents were Mary and Joseph Bird, which I think parent names like that, it's quite biblical. He had a twin brother called David and an older brother called Brian, and Brian was 6 years older than Derek and David. He lived alone in Rowra, which is in Cumbria, and he had 2 sons with a woman from who he had separated in the mid-1990s. He became a granddad in May 2010 and he was described as a quiet, popular man who worked as a self-employed taxi driver in Whitehaven. In 2007, Bird was beaten unconscious by 4 men who tried to run instead of paying him for taxi services. By the way, if you do that, you're a piece of shit. They've gone out of their way to take you to your destination, fucking pay him. Friends said that he had changed after the attack, which is not surprising. It was reported that Bird had previously sought help from a local hospital due to his fragile mental state, although these reports were unconfirmed. He had held a shotgun certificate since 1974 and had renewed it several times, the most recent one being in 2005, and he held a firearms certificate for a rifle from 2007 onward. At the time of the shooting, he was being investigated by HM Revenue and Customs. In the early hours of Wednesday, the 2nd of June 2010, Derek left his home and drove his car to his twin brother David's house in Lamplugh and shot him 11 times in the head and body with a .22 caliber rifle, killing him. 4 of those bullets exited David's body, causing a total of 15 entry or exit wounds. Bird then drove to Frizzington, arriving at the home of his family's solicitor Kevin Commons. Bird prevented Commons from driving away by firing twice with a double-barreled shotgun, which he had sawn the barrel off, hitting him once in the shoulder. Commons staggered out of his car and onto the entrance to his farmyard, where Bird killed him with 2 rifle shots to the head. After killing Commons, Bird went to a friend's residence to retrieve a shotgun he had loaned, although he was answered by the friend's wife, and she did not have access to it. After that, at around 10:30 in the morning, he drove to a taxi rank on Duke Street in Whitehaven. There he called over another taxi driver who was previously known to Bird, and I should add here that Bird had conflicts with this taxi driver over his behaviour in his practice of poaching fares and an incident wherein the driver damaged the tyres on Bird's taxi and openly bragged about it. When the driver approached Bird's taxi, he was shot twice at point-blank range with the rifle, hitting him in the lower face, chest and torso. He died of his injuries, becoming the only person to die in Whitehaven during the attacks. After killing the driver, Bird drove alongside another taxi driver and shot him in the back, wounding him. He then made a loop back to the taxi rank and fired twice at the guy as he waited for emergency personnel, missing him thankfully. Next, Bird drove away from the taxi rank and stopped alongside another taxi driver as he walked down Scotch Street and called him over to his vehicle as he did with the other one. When he answered his call, Bird shot him in the right side of his face with the sawn-off shotgun, severely wounding him. In the wake of the Whitehaven shootings, residents there and in the neighbouring towns of Egremont and Seascale were urged to stay indoors. A massive manhunt was launched by the Cumbria Constabulary, which was assisted by the armed Civil Nuclear Constabulary officers. Bird then proceeded to drive through several local towns, firing apparently at random and calling a majority of the victims over to his taxi before shooting them. Because of the first call, which was mistakenly reported to be an air rifle, the response from Cumbria Constabulary was severely delayed. After following Bird... Lost where I was. There we go. After following Bird, police vehicles and a member of the public's van, which was lent to a policeman. They started chasing Bird, but unfortunately they met a fork in the road and took the wrong direction, ultimately losing him. This is a messed up case. There is a lot more to happen. There is a lot more that's about to go down, so bear with me. Near Egremont, Bird tried to shoot a woman as she walked her dog, but she managed to escape without injury. When he arrived in Egremont, he stopped alongside another woman as she walked home from shopping and shot her in the chest and torso with the shotgun. He then got out of his taxi and got into a struggle with her before fatally shooting her in the back of the head with his rifle. After driving a short distance to Bridgend, Bird fired the shotgun at a man as he walked in the opposite direction, suffering fatal wounds to the head and chest. This was followed by the shooting of another man who was called over to Bird's taxi before being shot in the face at close range with the shotgun, then a second time in the back after he turned away to protect himself. And guys, I should mention here that that man survived the shooting. Who survives being shot in the face with a shotgun? Bird then went south towards Thornhill, where he fired his shotgun at a teenage girl but missed her, thankfully, and she ran off back towards her sister's home. He then passed Carlton and travelled to the village of Wilton. There he tried to visit a member of a diving club Bird also belonged to, but Bird left when the wife came to the door. Soon afterward, Bird then saw a woman walking down the road with her son. He shot her once in the chest with his shotgun and twice in the head with his rifle, which ultimately killed her. Bird then drove past Townhead Farm, but turned back towards it and fired his shotgun, fatally hitting the wife's husband in the head and wounding another woman in the back. While she survived the attack, she still has 100 pellets lodged in her lung. Fuck me. That's mad. He then drove back to Carlton and killed a mole catcher who was fatally shot twice at close range as he was talking to a farmer in the field. And here's a fact for you. There was a former rugby player called Gary Purdon. He was in rugby league, which is the same league as Bradford Bulls. Come on, you Bulls. Gary Purdon played for Whitehaven and Workington Town, and he was soon shot and killed while working in a field outside the Red Admiral Hotel at Boonwood near Gosforth. Bird then drove towards Seascale. Along the way he began driving slowly and waved other motorists to pass him. He shot a motorist who suffered a fatal wound to the head, though it was not clear whether he died from the gunshot or the crash. He then encountered another motorist at a narrow one-way passage underneath a railway bridge. When he allowed Bird to enter first, Bird fired at him as he passed by, shooting him twice and causing severe injury to his right arm. 3 armed response vehicles attempting to pursue Bird were later blocked out of the tunnel by the motorist's vehicle, and it had to be pushed away to let them pass. Can I just say, guys, who the fuck can reload a shotgun and a rifle all while driving? This is in 2010. We banned guns in 1998. Fuck me. I'm not good at maths, so can someone tell me how long that was, please? Thank you. I think I was 12. Yeah, it might have been 12 when this happened. Meanwhile, Bird had driven onto Drigg Road, where he had fired twice at a retired man who was cycling in front of him. The first shot missed, but the second shot hit the man in the head and ultimately killed him. Seconds later, while on the same street, Bird fatally shot a woman in the neck and head at point blank range after apparently calling her over. After he killed her, who, by the way, she was the final death in the shootings, witnesses described Bird as driving erratically down the street, and at 11:33 two constables saw Bird as his car passed by their vehicle. They attempted to chase him, but were delayed in roadworks and lost sight of him a minute later. Fucking roadworks. That's a huge problem in the UK. If it's not roadworks, it's fucking potholes. Or knives. But we'll talk about that at a later date. Soon afterward, Bird drove to Eskdale Valley, where he shot and wounded a woman in the neck with his rifle as she was out walking. At this point, his route had become clearer to police during their search for him. Next, Bird stopped alongside another woman who leaned into his passenger window, believing he was going to ask her for directions. Instead, he shot her in the chest with the rifle, wounding her before continuing onward towards the village of Boot. When he arrived in Boot, Bird briefly stopped at a business premises called Sims Travel and fired his rifle at nearby people, but missed. Continuing further into the village, he continued firing at random people and missing. Bird eventually fired his rifle at two men, hitting and severely wounding one of them in the face. This was shortly followed by a couple who had stopped their car to take a photo. One suffered severe wounds to the face from a rifle bullet, and the other fled upon Bird's instruction, but as he was fleeing, he was fired at. But he escaped unharmed. Before shooting the woman, Bird asked her if she was having a nice day. Dickhead. You having a nice day, love? Yeah, fine, thank you. Bang. Twat. Shortly after firing at two cyclists, Bird crashed his taxi into several vehicles and a stone wall, damaging a tyre. I mean, if you've crashed into several vehicles and a wall and you only damage a tyre, you got off pretty lucky. But then again, he should have died in that crash. I wished he had died in that crash. A nearby family of four offered assistance to Bird, but were quickly turned down and advised to leave. Bird removed the rifle from his taxi and walked over a bridge leading into Oak Howe Woods. He was last seen alive at 12:30 p.m. shortly afterward. Police confirmed that there had been fatalities and that they were searching for a suspect. Police later announced they were searching for this driver, I'm going to absolutely butcher this, of a dark grey Citroen Citroen Picasso, driven by the suspect, who was identified as Bird. At around 12:36 p.m, armed police officers and dog handlers arrived at the scene of Bird's abandoned taxi and began a search in and around the wooded area. At 2:00 p.m, the Deputy Chief Constable announced that Bird's body had been found in a wooded area along with a rifle. Police confirmed shortly afterwards that members of the public who had taken shelter during the incident could now resume their normal activities. I'm sorry, but if your town has been the subject of a mass shooting, how the fuck can any activity be normal? I'm sorry, but things like that ain't fucking normal. During the manhunt, the gates of the nearby Sellafield nuclear reprocessing plant were closed as a precaution, and the afternoon shift was told not to come into work. This actually sparked debate because obviously years prior to this we had the Hungerford Massacre that happened in 1987. I will talk about that in another video because I don't want to sound like a dickhead and say intriguing or fascinating, but it's just mad. And out of all the people that were killed, only 3 of them were targeted. So there was David Bird, 52, Kevin Commons, 60, Darren Rucastle, 43. They were all the targeted shootings. The random shootings, there was Susan Hughes, aged 57, killed at Egremont. Kenneth Fishburne, 71, killed at Egremont. James Jackson, 67, killed at Wilton. Jennifer Jackson, 68, killed at Wilton. In case you couldn't tell by the surname, she was the wife of James. Isaac Dixon, aged 65, killed at Carlton. Gary Purdom, the rugby player, 31, killed at Gosforth. James Clark, aged 23, so he was the youngest in this attack, killed at Seascale. Michael Pike, aged 64, killed at Seascale. Jane Robinson, 66, killed at Seascale. Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, touchy subject, was joined by several other MPs in expressing the House of Commons members' shock and horror at the events during the Prime Minister's questions. The Home Secretary at the time, Theresa May, another touchy subject, expressed her regret at the deaths and paid tribute to the response of the emergency services. Why are you paying tribute to the response of the emergency services? Yeah, if you're saying well done for trying to get to him, yeah, applaud him, but don't leave out the others who try to help, bitch. On the evening of the 2nd of June, Queen Elizabeth II said that she was deeply shocked by the shootings and shared the nation's grief and horror. Prince Charles, now King Charles, visited Whitehaven on the 11th of June to meet members of the community affected by the tragedy. And here's a fun fact for you. American pop singer Lady Gaga came under criticism after performing a murder scene at her concert in Manchester as part of her Monster Ball tour, just hours after the shooting spree. A week after the incident, memorials were held in the West Cumbria towns affected by the shootings, followed by a minute's silence at midday. Soon after, the taxi drivers sounded their horns for 1 minute to show their respect. A memorial fund was then established by the Cumbria Community Foundation to aid victims and communities affected by the West Cumbria shootings. All in all, there was 12 people killed, 13 if you count Derek Bird, but I'm not going to count him because he's a dickhead. There were 12 people killed and 11 injured. The worst and deadliest mass shooting since Dunblane. See, in the UK, we've banned guns, but things like this can happen. I mean, it happened a few years ago in Plymouth. I think about 2 people died and about 6 were injured. So things like this can and do happen. Anyway, I'm not going to take up more of your time. It's been going on for like 20 minutes, which is actually a lot shorter than I thought it would be. Because I spent all fucking day doing this. And truth be told, I am so tired. But I hope you've enjoyed it. Well, not enjoyed the video, because who enjoys a video about a shooting? Let me know let me know which case you want to hear next. I've got a bunch written down, or I can always talk about serial killers again. I know you people liked that, and people actually, after the serial killer videos, there was a lot of people who actually subscribed. But I'm not doing this for the subscribers. I'm just doing it because I enjoy making content as morbid as the true crime genre can be. I think after this series, in case you couldn't tell, is all about shootings. I think the next series, still going to be crime, true crime orientated, but not along the lines of shootings or serial killings. I've already got a few of those lined up. Not killers or, well, not serial killers or shooters, but I've already got a few true crime ideas lined up. A few UK based ones, as they're the ones I know the most about, due to the obvious. But anyway, I've rambled on for too long. If you enjoyed the video, again, if you like the you can't enjoy or like a video about something like this, man. Just give me a thumbs up. Just like the video. Subscribe if you're new. I've got to keep saying that. I've got to stop saying that even. But yeah, please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one, where we're going back to America. Like, subscribe, and peace.